Levack and Goz here with you on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. And joining us on the phone lines, you can hear him as a part of Fox Sports NFL coverage and also during the coverage of the New York Knicks and New York Rangers throughout their season. Kenny Albert joins us. And Kenny, you were on the coverage with John Lynch on Sunday in London for the tie between the Bengals and Redskins. We know it's a disappointing feeling for players when the game ends in a tie, but how does it feel for broadcasters calling a game and the end result is you have no winner?
Well, it's funny, Tom. We were talking about the same thing after the game. You always hear from players and coaches after a tie, we don't know how to feel. We didn't win, we didn't lose. And for us, it's a little bit different because we never win or lose. But hopefully you had a good broadcast. And on Sunday morning in London, Sunday morning in the U.S., we started at 1:30 in the afternoon in London. But, we thought that we covered all of the major issues and as far as some rule situations that came up. So we felt pretty good about the game, even though it ended in a tie.
What are the fans like in London now? Are they starting to understand and maybe embrace American football more than ever?
I think they are. This was my third time over. I was in London in 2011 for a Buccaneers-Bears game, and then again in 2014 for the Cowboys and Jaguars. And I think back to the early game, and you heard some of the loudest cheers and roars on the punts and the kicks. They're so used to watching soccer over there. But I think it's a mixture of fans from London and all over Europe and a number of fans who come over from the U.S. as well. And the amazing thing, Tom, you see jerseys representing every team. We got out of the car and walked towards the stadium, and I think the first 8 people we saw wearing jerseys had 8 different teams.
Wow.
You saw an Odell Beckham, and then you saw a Marino jersey and a Refrigerator Perry from the '85 Bears, and then a Ryan Tannehill. So I think they do embrace it. They've had 3 games this year, 17 now in London since 2007, and the crowds have been great. They've averaged over 83,000. We had 84,000 in Wembley on Sunday. So they enjoy watching American football. They get so many of the games on TV, and they get the opportunity now to attend the games as well.
He's a part of the Fox Sports coverage of the NFL every Sunday, also a part of the Knicks and Rangers. Kenny Albert joins us here on the phone lines on 104.5theteam.com. And Kenny, you wrote a piece for Madison Square Garden Networks about the Garden itself. You called sporting events in all different venues. But for you, what makes calling the action at Madison Square Garden so special?
Well, it's no surprise that it's referred to as the world's most famous arena. You walk through the bowels of Madison Square Garden and the concourse, and you see the photos of so many of the tremendous events that have taken place here, whether it was the Ali Frazier fight in 71, the Pope visiting, a Madonna concert, a Paul McCartney concert, Billy Joel, who's here now every month, and then some of the great sporting events with the Knicks championships in 70 and 73, and the Rangers, the Stanley Cup in 94. There's just such a special vibe about the building, and they did an unbelievable transformation 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's basically a new building, aside from the iconic ceiling. The concourses were expanded. The seats are all new. So the locker room areas were upgraded. So if you haven't been here, I would certainly recommend trying to get down to an event at MSG.
What are some reasonable expectations for the teams that play in the Garden? First, we'll start with the New York Rangers, and then we'll go with the Knicks. First, the Rangers. Reasonable expectations for them.
Well, the Rangers are off to a 6-3 start. They got younger and faster during the offseason. They made a number of moves. They traded for Mika Zibanejad from Ottawa. They brought in Pavel Buchnevich from Russia. They signed Jimmy Vesey, who was the Hobie Baker winner last year at Harvard. So definitely got younger and quicker up front. Defensively, they have their captain, Ryan McDonough, Dan Girardi, Mark Stahl, Kevin Klein, 4 veterans who have been a part of this core group now for 6, 7, 8 years, or 10 in the case of Stahl and Girardi. And Henrik Lundqvist, I feel they still have one of the top goaltenders in the National Hockey League. And you look at the last 5 years, it's been a terrific run. They got to the conference final in 2012, Stanley Cup final in 2014. Then the next year, they win the President's Trophy, take Tampa Bay to a 7th game in the East final. And last year, losing the first round to the team that goes on to win the Stanley Cup, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, like I said, good start, 6-3 this year, and they have the St. Louis Blues at the Garden in their next game, and then Edmonton comes in on Thursday. So, off to a good start once again.
How about the New York Knicks? Jeff Hornacek leading that squad. The Eastern Conference is a bit better than years before. Can this team be a playoff team?
I think they can. You look at the moves they made, and only 5 returning players from last year. and Carmelo Anthony obviously leading the way, Kristaps Porzingis in his second season, but then bringing in a Derrick Rose and a Joakim Noah and a Courtney Lee, Brandon Jennings. They significantly upgraded the roster. They split their first two games, and I certainly see them winning probably somewhere in the high 40s, in my opinion, and definitely, should they stay healthy, the playoff team in the Eastern Conference under Jeff Hornacek.
It's going to be an exciting next few months here for New York sports fans. Kenny Albert joins us here on the phone lines, 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. And Kenny, watching the Knicks games as both a media member and a fan, I don't know what I get more surprised about, the Walt Frazier outfits or the Walt Frazier vocabulary. As a guy who's sitting next to him, what surprises you more, the outfits or the vocabulary?
Well, I know he's very proud of both, Tom, and it's just been an absolute honor to work games with Walt over the last 5 or 6 years. I do about 20 Knick broadcasts when Mike Breen has a national assignment for ABC or ESPN, but always a lot of fun to get to the arena and see what he is wearing. I know there's now a Twitter account, an Instagram account, Clyde So Fly, that chronicles all of his outfits, so you can check that out, and the vocabulary as well. It's become his trademark, and he's also obviously one of the greatest players in franchise history, if not the greatest, but also he just sees the game so well. He almost has a photographic memory when it comes to players and their history and what they do out on the court. So he's certainly one of the most knowledgeable analysts that I've ever worked with as well.
I'm surprised he hasn't tried to pressure some of his partners more into some of the wardrobes he wears. He's never pressured you to say, Kenny, you got to wear this. You got to wear this hat. You got to wear this suit.
I've joked about it, Tom, with Mike Breen, and we say the same thing when we're asked that question. We could be wearing a ripped T-shirt and shorts for the on-camera at the start of the game. Nobody would even notice because everybody's focused on Clyde. So we could be wearing a tux, a ripped T-shirt, and it wouldn't matter. It would not make a difference because everybody's waiting and looking to see what Clyde's wearing.
The NFL season continues on this weekend. Kenny, what game will you be working for Fox?
Vikings and Lions this Sunday in Minnesota. Hopefully you don't ask me too much about the Vikings-Bears game last night because I was still a bit jet-lagged from London, fell asleep at halftime, but we'll finish watching it today. But looking forward to that one, a divisional matchup. Vikings obviously a bit of a blip now after the 5-0 start. Matthew Stafford's had a terrific season for the Lions. They're at 4-4, so our first look at the new stadium in Minneapolis as well.
You're going to see this guy all over this winter. Knicks, Rangers, NFL, Kenny Albert. Kenny, thank you so much for the time, and hopefully we bump into each other at the Garden in the near future.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it.